Meguiar's now finally has a rust remover in their product range. And yes, this statement is also factually correct because it must be noted as follows. Meguiar's previously mainly had wheel cleaners with a color change indicator which could also be used for rust removal. Meguiar's also previously had a clay bar with rust removing properties. However, Meguiar's previously did not have in their consumer range, that is in the Ultimate, Gold Class or Hybrid Ceramic series, a dedicated rust remover range. And that's something to really think about. A global brand like Meguiar's Meguiar, which is still among the largest, most significant and historically rich car care brands in the world, did not have a dedicated rust remover until the year 2025 range. Now they have one, and I am hopeful about it, that the long time Meguiar spent developing and testing the product has hopefully resulted in it being a good product. And with that, I say grazie, service, and hello. Thank you for tuning in, and it's great to have you with us. As always, we start with a brief overview and a look at the product. 710 milliliters cost just under 20 euros at the recommended retail price, 19,90 euros. I believe, of course, with Meguiar's, as with Sonax, Turtle Wax, Nigrin, or Arma. So like that, because you can get it on Amazon or eBay, you usually get it cheaper than the recommended retail price. But of course, we need to establish a consistent basis for price comparisons here. That's why the recommended retail price, 17 euros. This puts it in the good mid-range. It's not extremely expensive. There are indeed some that are even more expensive where you almost pay this price for 500 milliliter. But there are also some that are significantly cheaper. From that perspective, the price is okay for now. Then, product promise, I mean, it's a flash rust remover, and the important information is already stated right here on the front. We don't need to make a fuss about it. Flash rust remover, it should dissolve the flash rust on the paint by spraying it on, ideally even remove it, like with Meguiar's. Typically, we have a foldable label here where all the instructions are provided again in German. Absolutely exemplary. There is a warning symbol on it, which is absolutely common and normal for this product category. What I personally find interesting is the sentence up there, the second bullet point. Removes contaminants beneath the surface, which clay does not capture. Normally, it is said that you use a rust remover before claying, and that it is actually the clay that is more capable of removing stuff from the paint that the rust remover cannot. Meguiar's reverses the product promise here, where I would personally say they're going a bit too far. Otherwise, the application instructions are particularly interesting, guys, because they are a bit different from other rust removers. You should spray it generously onto the surface. And after letting it sit for 30 seconds, you should spread it with a damp wash mitt to prevent it from drying out. Which makes me wonder, is it so sensitive that it dries out that quickly? Do I need to assist it with a glove, or is perhaps the performance so weak that the mechanical assistance of the glove is necessary to achieve the promised cleaning performance? We will take a look, we will test it. Rinse off with a strong stream of water, dry the surface to avoid water spots. I find that a very, very good tip. The ingredients are all listed again, and from this we now know everything there is to know, and we can proceed to the test. Well, what is the best for testing a rust remover? A white paint, because here we can see the reaction, which will hopefully occur most clearly. That's why we now take the new Meguiar's Ultimate Iron Remover. Give it a quick shake and check that the spray head is working as it should. And then we spray the area here, I would say up to the middle of the door. I also make sure that there's really enough on it so that it covers the surface completely. And I already noticed that it adheres very, very well to the paint. It only runs down very, very slowly, if at all. I already like that. And then that's how it is. You know by now, a test is only counts a test when you use a reference product. That's why I'm now taking one that we know well, and we also know that it works well. But here the spray head is already starting to fall apart. I don't like that so much. The old spray heads were a bit better, dear G and team. Doesn't change anything. The G in iron, here in the current formulation, is simply an incredibly good iron remover. You can already see it also sprays a bit finer. Look here. In the middle, we have a strip that is untreated. Let's spray up to here. On. And then we already notice, look how quickly and how much faster the Jan reacts. It starts immediately, but so does the Meguiar's. That's not the case. So we'll leave them on for a few minutes and then look at the result. Okay, both products have been on for a few minutes now. The Meguiar's hasn't dried yet. It's not particularly warm here right now. The Gion hasn't dried either, even though it foams up a bit more here when spraying on. The Gion doesn't, but this hasn't caused either of them to dry. Let's rinse it off. So now here's the following problem. It's almost impossible to assess the performance of rust removers just based on about visual evaluation. And that's why we're going to do it as follows. We'll simply switch the order, or rather, we'll switch the sides and spray the side where the Meguiar's was before with the Gion again. And let's see if any new additional reactions occur here. And the side where the Gion was, we'll spray with the Meguiar's. And the nice thing is, we're now doing an additional test, namely, we'll see how well the two adhere to a wet paint surface, because there's always a discussion about whether I should spray a rust remover on a dry or wet paint surface. And we see the Meguiar's also adheres very, very well to a wet paint surface. It runs down a bit faster than before. The same applies to the Gion. And now here, at this point, I have to say, the Gion does mist more finely, and that's always a feature you want in products, but in my view, it's a bit more difficult with the Gion to spray it evenly because it mists so finely. Therefore, purely from the spray pattern, I like the Meguiar's a little bit better, but I think you can already see where this journey is going, because on the side where the Meguiar's was applied before, we now sprayed the Gion and see that a reaction is really happening everywhere, whereas the same does not happen on the side where the Gion was applied first, and now the Meguiar's. Yes, that is quite, in my view, that speaks a relatively clear language. I'll show it to you up close. So this, as I said, is the side where the Meguiar's was applied before, and now the Gion again. And we see that a clear reaction is happening again. Whereas here on the side where the Gion was applied first and now the Meguiar's is hardly any reaction is happening. There's a tiny little spot. Yes, to me that speaks a clear language. All right, we will now conduct an additional test simply to ensure that everything is above board, and especially to rule out the possibility that there was generally more flucose on the front here, and maybe the Chiron isn't that good. We'll spray the Detox 1 from Shiny Garage here again. Also a very, very good, very reliable iron remover. And we'll see if there's still a reaction occurring after we've already treated the area twice with an iron remover. It could be. It could very well be. Let's wait a moment. There are still a few spots you can see very clearly. Is there still a bit of reaction? Yes, but not nearly as strong. How the Gion reacted after the Meguiar's was already applied. But clearly there's still a little bit left here. Well, it was good that we did the test again here. But we have to be fair to Meguiar's and conduct an additional test. A brief interjection at this point in case you're wondering, or rather if you were hoping that this is finally the revolution, meaning a rust remover that doesn't have that typical rotten egg smell. I have to disappoint you. It smells just as bad as all other rust removers and like all other wheel cleaners with an active indicator. Because simply spraying on and letting it work is contrary to the how application recommendation from Meguiar's, and that's why we're going to do it as follows. I spray here on just this small section with Meguiar's and will then support it with a wash mitt. I spray Meguiar's again in the middle here and just let it work again. And I spray the Gion again on the outside. and just let it work as well. Now we have a nice three-way comparison here. So I'll take a wash mitt that's just wet with water. I'll also put a bit more of the Meguiars on it and wash over it again. And try to use the rust remover in addition, as well as mechanically support the rust remover and mechanically loosen the flash rust. All right, on the other two surfaces, we'll just leave it on for a few more minutes. So, and now we'll do the same check as before, but directly with the Shiny Garage. We spray over all the surfaces again. Also make sure that everything is really covered everywhere. And let's take a look at how everything looks after a few minutes. All right, and for me, this is the best part of such videos, when tests provide very clear and distinct results. Here in the middle, we have the strongest reaction again with the Shiny Garage, and that was where we had previously just sprayed on the Meguiars, significantly less on the right. So it is really significant. You can notice it, but there is still a reaction. This means that the mechanical assistance made a difference, but not that much. As in the direct comparison with the Geon cleaned better from the start and without mechanical assistance. Here we have the least subsequent and additional reaction now with the Shiny Garage. So for me, the result here is relatively clear. And with that, we can move on to the conclusion about the Meguiar's iron remover. Before I come to the conclusion about the Meguiar's ultimate iron remover, we must of course be fair at this point. I have tested it on a paint surface in this video and shown it to you. This does not allow us to make a final definitive conclusion about this product. Here, I have also tried it on other paints, on other cars, so it's not like that, but we must fairly mention this at this point. In my opinion, we cannot and should not say that it doesn't work at all. We have seen that it produces a reaction, namely this typical purple-red coloration. On the paint, this means that a cleaning action is taking place. However, this cleaning performance compared to other products we have on the market, which either cost the same or significantly less, is unfortunately not quite as strong and not quite as effective. And from that perspective, I have to personally say, for the price we pay here, namely the 20 euros, for these 710 milliliters, I have to personally say, I would not buy it. I cannot and must not go and say, and tell you that it doesn't work at all, as I said. This means if you get it, it will do something. But you need to know that you might really have to, as Meguiar's recommends, additionally support with a wash mitt. That you will certainly need to additionally clay afterwards to completely remove the iron fallout spots. Or you will have to work with the product 2 or 3 times, which of course makes the high price even worse. To achieve the same cleaning performance that you would get with other products with just one application and possibly even without using a clay bar. And that's why I leave the conclusion to you at this point, and you have to make the decision yourself whether you want to get the Meguiars. Personally, I would say there are better products out there. I showed you 2 of them in this video, the Iron or the Shiny Garage Detox. If the video was helpful, informative, exciting, and interesting for you, feel free to give us a thumbs up, support the channel with a free subscription, and tune in for the next video. Cheers!